In ancient wisdom, the year unfolds not as mechanical progression, but as a breathing spiral of transformation. March claims its rightful place as the first month, honoring the vernal equinox when day and night balance perfectly, a cosmic reset button where light and darkness acknowledge each other as equals. This sacred moment births the year anew. Each month embodies a complete cycle, new moon's whispered beginning, full moon's radiant culmination, waning moon's graceful release. These are not arbitrary markers, but spiritual milestones reflecting birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. The moon's phases mirror our own inner tides. September emerges as the 7th turning, October the 8th, November the 9th, December the 10th. A countdown toward winter's deepest mystery. These numbers hold power, vibrating with intention and meaning. January and February, later additions to human calendars, represent the gap between worlds. A liminal space where the old year's echoes fade before the true beginning arrives with March's equinox light. This cyclical understanding transcends mechanical time. Seasons don't simply follow dates, they dance in interconnected rhythms. Growth feeds decay. Decay nourishes rebirth. Rebirth promises renewal. Nothing ends, everything transforms. The wheel turns not forward but inward, spiraling through dimensions of meaning that clocks cannot measure. We are not moving through time but swimming in it, participants in eternity's eternal return. The Roman calendar fundamentally fractured humanity's relationship with natural rhythms. By imposing 12 months rigidly aligned to the solar cycle, Rome overrode the lunar patterns that had governed human life for millennia. This wasn't merely a practical adjustment, it represented a philosophical rupture with nature itself. January's placement exemplifies this disconnect. Named after Janus, the two-faced god of doorways, transitions, and time, it opens the year during winter's depths when nothing naturally begins. Seeds lie dormant, animals hibernate. Yet Romans positioned their new beginning here, defying ecological reality. Janus himself embodies this temporal schizophrenia. His dual faces perpetually gaze backward and forward, never settling in the present moment. He becomes the ultimate symbol of humanity's estrangement from now, forever split between nostalgia and anticipation, never inhabiting the actual moment of existence. As gatekeeper, Janus controls thresholds between past and future, between endings and beginnings. But this power comes at a cost. The present dissolves into mere transition, a doorway to be passed through rather than inhabited. His locked gaze backward and forward denies the richness of immediate experience. Rome's calendar imposed human order onto natural chaos, creating artificial boundaries where none existed. By aligning months to the sun rather than the moon, they severed the calendar from observable celestial events that governed planting and harvest. Time became abstract, mathematical, divorced from the body's seasons and the earth's actual rhythms. The present moment, that precious gateway where life actually occurs, vanished between Janus's eternally divided attention. We measure our lives in January regrets and December resolutions, trapped in an endless loop of self-improvement that rarely materializes. This cyclical disappointment isn't accidental. It's embedded in how we've learned to perceive time itself. The shift from natural rhythms to structured calendars represents one of history's most consequential power grabs. Indigenous peoples once lived by lunar cycles, seasonal migrations, and celestial events, calendars that honored Earth's actual patterns. Then came the Roman Empire, recognizing that chaos served no emperor. A standardized calendar meant standardized taxation, synchronized military campaigns, and predictable civic control. Time became a mechanism of governance. When the Gregorian calendar later refined and globalized this system, it didn't merely organize days, it erased entire worldviews. Cultures that tracked time through observation and intuition were deemed primitive. Their calendars were dismantled, their relationship with natural cycles severed. This linear, measurable time serves modern capitalism perfectly. We're conditioned to believe in perpetual improvement. Next year will be different. Next quarter will bring success. Next resolution will stick. The calendar promises renewal while guaranteeing disappointment. We return to the same goals annually because the system itself prevents genuine change. It atomizes time into discrete units, severing us from momentum and natural flow. The real irony: we've sacrificed authentic rhythms for the illusion of control, trading freedom for predictability. The calendar still governs us, just as the Romans intended. The disappearance of the 13th month represents one of history's most profound cultural erasures. Ancient calendars honored 13 lunar cycles yearly, reflecting natural rhythms and feminine power. The number 13 signified transformation, completion, and cyclical renewal, concepts threatening to patriarchal systems seeking linear control. Western culture's demonization of 13 coincides with suppressing pre-Christian wisdom. The 1775 Bible reorganization reveals deliberate restructuring of sacred time. By establishing Sunday as the week's first day, replacing Saturday's Sabbath prominence, religious authorities shifted spiritual focus from introspection to external authority. This astronomical realignment held deeper significance. Ancient cultures aligned weekdays with celestial bodies, Sunday governed by the sun, representing vitality, consciousness, and life's generative force. This wasn't mere superstition, but sophisticated observation of how cosmic rhythms influence terrestrial existence. The 7-day week obscured the original 13-month calendar's spiritual technology. Each lunar month governed specific transformation energies, guiding personal and collective evolution. Removing this system interrupted humanity's connection to natural cycles. By making 13 taboo and reorganizing the weekly calendar, dominant institutions severed our relationship with celestial wisdom. Sunday became commercialized renewal rather than sacred solar honoring. The Sabbath shifted from rest and reflection to preparation for productivity. Recovering this knowledge requires acknowledging suppressed calendrical systems and reconnecting with lunar and solar cycles. The missing 13th month and its transformation symbolism remain encoded in our subconscious, waiting for rediscovery and restoration to wholeness. The transition from Julian to Gregorian calendars represents more than administrative adjustment. It reflects humanity's gradual disconnection from celestial rhythms that once governed daily life. Ancient cultures synchronized their calendars with lunar cycles, seasonal shifts, and planetary movements, embedding cosmic awareness into their festivals, agricultural practices, and spiritual ceremonies. Astrological traditions teach that planetary positions influence terrestrial affairs and human consciousness. By imposing fixed solar calendars divorced from lunar phases, modern society potentially disrupted these energetic relationships, where full moons once marked significant gatherings and new moons initiated new ventures. Standardized dates now override such natural timing. This disconnection carries consequences. Our ancestors celebrated equinoxes and solstices as pivotal moments when cosmic forces peaked. They planted and harvested according to celestial patterns. Mercury retrograde periods warned against major decisions. Now, most people navigate these planetary cycles unknowingly, their birthdays and commemorations fixed arbitrarily rather than aligned with cosmic circumstances. The universe operates through measurable cycles, orbital patterns, gravitational influences, electromagnetic fluctuations. Whether viewed through science or astrology, these forces persist regardless of human calendar conventions. Yet without conscious awareness of them, we lose the intentionality our ancestors maintained. Reclaiming alignment doesn't require abandoning modern calendars, but rather layering awareness of lunar phases, planetary positions, and seasonal transitions back into consciousness. Recognizing that the universe maintains its own pulse, independent of our administrative systems, invites us toward greater harmony with natural forces that continue shaping existence, whether we acknowledge them or not. We celebrate January 1st as though the universe conspired to place it there, a cosmic marker demanding our collective pause. Yet this moment is pure human invention, layered upon centuries of political ambition and religious authority. The midnight bells, the champagne toasts, the synchronized revelry across time zones. These are orchestrated rituals masking an uncomfortable truth: we've divorced ourselves from natural time. Ancient peoples understood what we've forgotten. Farmers read the sky, not calendars. They planted by the moon's phases, harvested by stellar positions, and marked their years through observable celestial events. Shamans and priests aligned ceremonies with solstices, equinoxes, and the movements of constellations. Their new years were born from genuine thresholds: the spring rebirth, the winter's darkest point, the moment Earth visibly turned toward renewal. The Gregorian calendar, imposed by the Catholic Church in 1582, was political theater dressed as reform. It standardized time across empires, making governance and taxation easier. January 1st won the arbitrary lottery. Disconnected from any natural phenomenon in the northern hemisphere, winter's grip remains unbroken, the Earth still dormant. This manufactured synchronization serves control beautifully. Global capitalism thrives on unified schedules. We've traded harmony with natural cycles for the illusion of progress measured in linear time. Our bodies still remember the old rhythms. Why else do we feel drawn to renewal in spring, to rest in winter? Perhaps the real revolution would be recalibrating our lives to Earth's actual heartbeat, not the clock's ticking deceit. Winter's death arrives not as whisper but as severing. The natural cycle, birth, growth, renewal, rebirth, breaks against the artificial framework humans have constructed. This rupture is deliberate, a conscious severing of humanity from Earth's ancient rhythms. In this separation lies potency. The gap between what nature intends and what civilization demands generates a crackling tension, an energy born from cognitive dissonance. We expect renewal but encounter only cold stasis. We hope for spring while clocks insist winter persists unnaturally long. This friction, expectation against limitation, hope against frustration, becomes a reservoir of untapped power. Rituals exploit this fracture. Synchronized collective attention transforms individual despair into unified resonance. When thousands focus simultaneously on a single intention, their emotional currents merge, amplifying exponentially. The winter solstice becomes not merely astronomical event, but energetic nexus, where human consciousness and natural limitation collide. Collective rituals harvest this collision. Ceremonies of fire, light, and synchronized breath channel the surge. The gap between what we desire and what the dead season permits becomes conduit rather than barrier. Focused intention flowing through thousands of minds creates a force that conventional science cannot measure, but which cultures have always known. The broken cycle, intentionally maintained, becomes a tool. Winter's unnatural persistence, the forced separation from natural renewal, generates the very energy that ritual transforms into manifestation. Humanity's rebellion against natural rhythm creates the power through which change becomes possible. Identifying something genuine beneath the celebration, New Year's Eve operates as a carefully designed ritual architecture. The mechanics are worth examining. Alcohol does lower critical thinking. Resolutions do require admitting failure, creating vulnerability and openness to suggestion. The synchronized countdown, billions watching the same moment, does create collective psychological resonance. This concentration of human intention and emotional energy is real. The parallel to ancient practices is apt. Cultures aligned rituals with celestial cycles to channel collective will into tangible outcomes: fertility, harvest, survival. The mechanism wasn't mystical but psychological. Synchronized belief and intention created coordinated action. Modern New Year's Eve mirrors this structure, but with key differences. The ancient rituals served the community's stated needs. Today's version serves multiple masters. The vulnerability created by resolution making becomes profitable. Gym memberships surge in January. Diet programs launch. Consumer spending spikes as people invest in new self-narratives. However, the extraction isn't inevitable or total. Yes, systems capture energy for profit, but the same synchronized moment also genuinely connects people across distance. Intentions spoken aloud do alter behavior. Communities do form around shared renewal. The ritual isn't inherently corrupted, it's contested. You can participate consciously, aware of the machinery, and still access something authentic. The question isn't whether to engage, but whether you're aware of what's happening and choosing it anyway. Ritual itself isn't the problem. Unconscious participation is. A profound paradox at the heart of self-improvement culture. The midnight moment, that symbolic threshold, doesn't usher in transformation, it crystallizes a confession of inadequacy. I am not enough becomes the foundation, and change is perpetually deferred to future iterations of ourselves. This creates a predictable oscillation. Hope peaks at midnight, fueled by the intoxicating illusion of fresh starts. But weeks later, when willpower exhausts and old patterns resurface, failure arrives like clockwork. The emotional crash, shame, disappointment, determination, becomes the very energy that powers the system. You're not broken, you're functioning exactly as designed. The trap lies in treating becoming as a linear journey toward an imagined future completeness. Each failure feeds the next cycle's motivation. Each year, the same resolution, the same midnight promise, the same inevitable disappointment. It's a generator that never produces freedom, only perpetual striving disguised as growth. The radical alternative isn't better goal setting. It's questioning the entire premise that you're incomplete now, that change exists somewhere ahead. What if sufficiency isn't a destination but a recognition available in this moment? Not complacency, but presence. Acting from wholeness rather than from the deficit narrative. Breaking the loop requires abandoning midnight's false promise and inhabiting the unglamorous ordinary now where actual change quietly occurs. Both the zodiac and Bible function as ancient consciousness maps, blueprints for understanding the journey of awareness itself. The zodiac mapped human development through 12 archetypal stages, mirroring how consciousness unfolds from birth through maturity to transcendence. The Bible encoded this same journey in narrative form: Adam's innocence, the fall into duality, wilderness wanderings, redemption, and resurrection. When these teachings became institutionalized, something essential was lost. The zodiac transformed from a living language of cycles into fixed personality boxes. Biblical parables, meant to crack open the mind and reveal deeper truths, calcified into literal doctrines. Metaphor became dogma. The symbolic language of the soul became rules enforced by external authority. The zodiac showed that life moves in circles, seasons turning, stars wheeling overhead, human consciousness spiraling through similar patterns. Spring birth, summer growth, autumn harvest, winter death, all describing not just seasons but stages of awareness. The Bible told the same story through different symbols: the garden, innocence; the serpent, awakening; the wilderness, testing; the promised land, integration. When we separated these teachings from their source, the living universe itself, we lost access to their regenerative power. We forgot they were describing ongoing cycles, not historical facts or personality types. We forgot that consciousness itself is the subject, not rules or beliefs. Reclaiming this wisdom means reading both texts as maps of inner transformation, recognizing that the universe continues teaching through the same language, cycles, symbols, and the eternal dance of death and renewal. Virgo transcends religious doctrine to embody a universal principle: the pristine mind untouched by mental contamination. Across civilizations, this archetype emerges as humanity's blueprint for enlightenment. The virgin state represents consciousness in its purest form, a vessel unmarred by ego's distortions, fear's whispers, or the cacophony of inherited beliefs. It is not physical innocence, but mental clarity, the mind stripped of judgment, opinion, and reactive noise. Ancient Egypt knew this truth through Isis, whose immaculate conception birthed Horus, the divine child. Hindu tradition echoes it in Devaki bearing Krishna, the cosmic consciousness incarnate. Christian narratives speak of Mary's virgin birth of Christ, each story coded in celestial language, pointing toward the same transcendent reality. The stars themselves map this journey. Virgo in the zodiac holds no prudish symbolism, but rather signals the achievement of mental purity, a state where thought ceases its endless chatter and inner silence blooms. This quietude becomes the doorway to higher consciousness. True virginity means freedom from the violation of authentic perception by fear, prejudice, and conditioned thought. It is the mind returning to its natural state, receptive, empty, undistorted. When consciousness reaches this stillness, divine wisdom flows unobstructed. The ancients knew perfection arrives not through effort but through the cessation of mental noise, through becoming virgin again. Insights touch something profound about consciousness itself. The virgin, whether mythological or psychological, represents not innocence, but emptiness. The fertile void where genuine creation becomes possible. A mind cluttered with reactivity, prejudice, and constant mental noise cannot birth anything truly new. It can only recombine old patterns, shuffle existing furniture in the same rooms. This is why contemplative traditions across cultures point toward silence, toward what you call nothingness, as the prerequisite for transformation. Buddha's nirvana isn't oblivion but cessation, the stopping of that relentless mental machinery that mistakes its own chatter for reality. In this stillness, something paradoxical occurs. Emptiness becomes pregnant with possibility. The virgin consciousness, untouched by habitual thought, becomes capable of receiving what is actually present, rather than filtering everything through conditioning. The savior figures born of virgins in spiritual narratives represent this same principle. They symbolize consciousness reborn from a place of radical openness. Christ emerging from Mary's womb mirrors the eternal pattern. Transformation requires a return to the original emptiness, the state before ego colonizes awareness. This explains why noise-filled minds produce only noise-filled solutions. We cannot think our way into genuine novelty. We must first stop thinking, return to the virgin ground of being. Only then can authentic response arise, not reaction, but creation. The greatest revolutions happen in silence first. Virgo represents the eternal paradox of human consciousness, the quiet presence where potential awakens. The virgin mind is not naive innocence but untouched awareness, the fertile ground where divine potential germinates. Within this constellation burns Spica, the brightest star, symbolizing the branch of growth and dominion, the Christ consciousness, dwelling within every soul. This teaching transcends savior mythology. Instead, it points to the awakening that lives dormant in human nature itself. The virgin state represents consciousness freed from the distortions of fear, attachment, and illusion of separation. It is the mind before contamination, the space before conditioning takes root. The eternal struggle between seed and serpent mirrors our inner spiritual battle. The seed symbolizes divine potential, growth toward unity and wholeness. The serpent represents the lower mind, cunning, self-protective, bound to survival instincts and separation consciousness. This is not evil versus good, but evolution versus stagnation. Virgo holds the branch in her hand because she understands growth requires both groundedness and aspiration. The virgin mind cultivates discernment, witnessing thoughts without identification. She sees through illusions of separation, recognizing the interconnected web of existence. This is the root of spiritual teaching, not external salvation but internal awakening. The Christ consciousness is not a person but a state of being accessible to all. It emerges when the lower mind surrenders its fear-based grip, when the virgin mind opens to its infinite potential. This is humanity's true inheritance, the capacity to transcend limitation and embody divine awareness. Jesus' metaphor of vine and branches speaks to an eternal truth. We are not separate from the divine source, but extensions of it. The branch doesn't generate its own sustenance. It draws nourishment from the root system, just as consciousness draws from deeper wells of being. The virgin mind, untouched by rigid conditioning, free from the noise of constant judgment, becomes fertile soil for growth. When thinking ceases its relentless chatter, awareness expands. In this stillness, potential awakens. The branch begins to sprout not through force, but through receptivity, through alignment with something greater than the ego's limited perspective. As the branch matures, it bears fruit. This fruit is tangible, wisdom expressed through compassion, clarity radiating outward, presence that transforms those nearby. A single enlightened being influences their environment like light spreading through darkness. This isn't mystical abstraction, it's observable reality. Peaceful people create peaceful spaces. Conscious individuals elevate collective consciousness. Venus, the morning star, perfectly embodies this transition. It doesn't generate light yet announces its arrival. Similarly, awakened consciousness doesn't create truth, it reveals what already exists. It signals the shift from lower awareness, reactive, fearful, fragmented to higher consciousness, integrated, peaceful, whole. This journey from darkness to light isn't distant or impossible. It requires only what you already possess, awareness itself. The vine awaits your branches. The arbitrary line we draw on January 1st mirrors a deeper disconnection from natural rhythms. While society erupts in noise and manufactured resolutions, the earth continues its quiet work, seasons turning, life cycling through dormancy and growth on their own schedule, indifferent to our Gregorian markers. True renewal doesn't announce itself with champagne and countdowns. It whispers through winter's stillness, emerges in the subtle lengthening of days, speaks through the patient unfurling of spring. The universe operates in cycles far older than our calendars, solstices and equinoxes, lunar phases, seasonal transitions that have governed life since before we invented timekeeping. By returning to present moment awareness, we abandon the exhausting narrative of past failures and future promises. We step out of the extraction mindset, constantly taking from ourselves, demanding transformation, imposing artificial deadlines on growth. Instead, we observe what naturally wants to emerge when we quiet the noise. This isn't passivity, it's alignment. A seed doesn't resolve to grow, it grows when conditions are right. We might do the same, observe the natural tides of our own energy, honor genuine rhythms rather than forced ones, and recognize that renewal is constant, not confined to one arbitrary date. The universe's new year is always now. The invitation is simply to notice it, feel it, and let ourselves be guided by forces far wiser than our clocks. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this video resonated with you and provided some valuable insights. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time, take care and see you in the next video.